Hey, changing up today. I got it, guys. Hey, every one of you is here for a reason, for a purpose. All right? You're not here by accident. We wanted you here. We brought you here. You have a gift. Bring that gift to the table today, man. Bring it to the table. We talked all week about finishing. Finish every block. Finish every tackle. Finish every play. Finish the damn game. Let's go. Let's go. Vikings on 3, 1, 2, 3. Vikings.
FreeBeats.io. Get this beat untagged for free at FreeBeats.io. FreeBeats.io.
We're a building full of dream chasers in here. You want to come join us?
All right, everybody, welcome into Load the Box, the Monday Night Football Primetime Showdown edition. It's me, Jordan Hawthorne, as always, joined by the absolutely stunning, in that unified athletic whale hat, Will Goodwin. If you want me to make the Goodwin joke about Green Bay, I already did it. I did it on Monday. Go watch the video. And so that's old news. We're here to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Before we do this, and this is something that's going to take some getting used to, we just talked 2 days ago. Did you have a good Tuesday? Will?
Tuesday? What was Tuesday? It was yesterday, and I'm already having a hard time remembering it, quite frankly. I spent a lot of the early evening digging up roots in my yard, so that was enjoyable, I guess.
There you go. It sounds like a forgetful Tuesday. I think mine was a lot of like, oh, let's watch the 60-minute condensed version of the Browns-Panthers game, and just trying to catch up on football that I didn't get to watch on Sunday. And I'm sure at some point I'll get kind of sick of watching football every day of the week. But right now it's like, there's not a game on for 2 days out of the week. This is nonsense. When do we get Wednesday night football? But until we get Wednesday night football, this is what you have to deal with is us talking.
Absolutely. Are you refreshed and ready to go in your new Jalen Reagor jersey?
Yeah, that actually made me laugh very, very hard whenever you said that. This is a Teddy Bridgewater jersey. I actually ironically bought it after the knee injury, before the Case Keenum season, because I was like, oh yeah, he's going to come back and he's going to be the franchise quarterback, and I loved Mike Zimmer then, and as everyone did, and I had no doubts that Teddy would come back, and it's seen a lot. I think this was the jersey I was wearing when unfortunately 38-7 happened, which what a transition into Monday Night Football. Just primo. The Vikings go into Philadelphia. I think in the little text for VikingsTerritory.com, where you can get all of your Vikings news, updates, and opinions, I said something about how this is two fan bases that view their teams as a contender but will one of them be exposed as a potendo? Because it's that time of year. It's week 2. Let's see who is riding way too high, who's buying their own hype, all of that kind of stuff. I think this is going to be a really good game between a playoff team last year and a team that I think personally underperformed a lot last season, looking at what that roster had on it. What are your, from the outside looking in, before we really get into the weeds here, what are your takes on this game?
I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think I have a little bit of PTSD from Vikings games on the road in prime time, outdoors. Generally there's just this feeling of sort of, and this is even just preceding Kirk Cousins, there's that whole narrative of Kirk Cousins, being terrible in prime time. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, frankly, but even prior to Kirk Cousins, even when Favre was here, I remember road primetime games. We weren't very good. Outdoors especially. I remember that Arizona game. I remember the Carolina game in 2009 when we kind of fell apart at the end of the season and limped into the playoffs. So it's not necessarily, it doesn't have any bearing on this game. New regime, new offense, new defense, some new players. Everything's really new. But I think I have this in the back of my mind that, oh crap, it's a road Monday night game. That aside, I think it's going to be wildly entertaining. I think it's going to be probably, we'll get into the details, but I think it's going to be a little choppy and not terribly fluid. The Eagles aren't really a pretty team. The Vikings have some kinks they need to work out. So I think there's going to be a lot of big plays. I think there's going to be probably some penalties. I think it's going to be a relatively choppy game. And we can get into more details, as we go here. But how about for you? Where are you kind of sitting? I know you have some pretty high hopes for this game, and you're also pretty excited for, what's going to transpire.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask, the guys over at Pro Football Talk, this game's not going to matter because this is a game between the 18th best team and the 5th best team. So, I think I sent it to one of my buddies today, and he's a Bengals fan, and I just said, I don't even need to watch football this season. Like Mike Florio said, the Vikings are a bottom 16 team. Might as well start, just devoting myself to the draft for next year, and it's time to, tank for Bryce Young or something like that. But my take on it is I'm really excited to see Justin Jefferson. If you're following the little ticker on the bottom of the screen here, it's I've put a Justin Jefferson average yards needed per game to break Calvin Johnson's receiving record, and right now it's 112 per game. And I'm excited to see, can he have another, I'm not going to expect him to go for a $185 or a $184 or whatever. Can he get over 100 again? The Eagles are going to be laser focused in on stopping him. But, and this is something I don't know how much we touched on Monday, but I don't know that, I think Green Bay was also laser focused in on stopping Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson's not a well-kept secret. People know he's really good at football. So I'm going to be excited to see how Kevin O'Connell and Cousins and Jefferson come up with ways to get him, open down the field, to get him a $120 receiving yards, and that lack of production or that dip in production, if he only gets 120, which is a crazy thing to say, if he only gets 120. I want to see Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne pick that up. I would rather see KJ pick it up, to be honest with you, just because we know what Thielen is, and I want to make sure KJ wasn't a flash in the pan last season. And that's kind of my matchup. That's my go-to matchup. That's the one I'm the most excited to watch. I think it's the Vikings' strength is their skill position players, their outside players. And, I mean, Cousins, everyone knows the Monday Night Football woes that he's had. And, funny enough, he got his first Monday night win while I was on my honeymoon watching that game from my hotel. And I remember just watching him.
Great wife, man.
The best wife in the entire world. Like, the absolute best wife ever. And I had my Klein Salsa jersey on, and we were just sitting there in the hotel room watching the game. And I remember Cousins got a first down that let us run the clock out, and just how amped he got. I need that Cousins on Monday night this week. I need him to get a first down and immediately stop flexing and dropping F-bombs like he did in the San Francisco practice. So it's going to be exciting. That's my main, that's my big marquee matchup. Who are you looking at in this game? What skill groups, what specific players do you have that you're keeping an extra close eye on?
I think for me, it's both running games, I guess is probably the best way to put it. The Lions were able to really run wild on the Eagles, and part of that's a little bit skewed, based on the outcome of the game, and the Lions weren't able to really rack up as many carries as they might have wanted to because they fell behind so quickly that they had high production on the limited number of carries they had. DeAndre Swift went 15 for 144, so he was really running well. Who's to say that that's just a flash in the pan? Obviously, the Lions, though, they have a good offensive front and they have a good running back. So the Vikings have that as well in terms of the running game. We're still, it remains to be seen what they have in the passing protection from the offensive line. One game isn't enough to break any narratives there, but that's something where I see the Vikings can exploit the Eagles' front seven. I think, the Eagles have, according to Pro Football Focus preseason, they were ranked 9th in the defensive line, 15th in the linebacking core. So top third in the NFL front seven, you could say. They didn't look it on Sunday. So whether that's Fletcher Cox getting old or maybe just the Lions had a good game plan, that's something that I think the Vikings could go after. And then on the flip side, the Vikings did not look good stopping the run on Sunday either. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, when they did get their carries, and it was a similar situation where because they fell behind, they weren't really able to commit to the run game. And even when they did, though, in the second half or even the late first half, when they did get their couple good drives, the Packers, they relied on the run game. And the Vikings just frankly weren't able to really shut it down. So I think those are the two aspects that I'm looking for. I think, the spread, or not the spread, sorry, the over-under, I don't know what the number is right now, but it's high. Everyone's saying it's going to, yeah, look it up for a second. Everyone's saying this is going to be a high-scoring game, based on the Vikings and their high-profile offense and the Eagles putting up 38 on Sunday. I could really see this, though, being a 24-21 relatively fast game with a lot of running. Something to think about. Well, what's the over-under?
So the over-under is 51, and to put that into context, for those of you who may not gamble, over-under is if you combine both teams' points. Is it going to be more or less than this amount of points? 51. The Chargers-Chiefs game has an over-under of 54 with, like that. So they're putting the Eagles and Vikings on that same level of, they're going to say that one extra field goal will be kicked in that Chargers-Chiefs game than what will be scored in the Vikings-Eagles game.
So, I mean, it's a betting line. It's not necessarily everything, but it shows that the odds makers think that this is going to be relatively high scoring. I'm not so sure. I think it might be a little bit lower scoring. I think it might be a ground and pound game.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I wonder if what plays into that is the fact that Green Bay, as hype as we were on Monday about holding them to 7 points, I mean, you have to think we had 2 turnovers, we had a goal line stand, I think we had another fourth down where they toned it over on downs, and they dropped a 75-yard touchdown pass on the first play of the game. Green Bay did themselves no favors in that game, and it's not like the Vikings defense was so smothering that they were unable to move the ball. It was that they were opportunistic, which I think I said a million times on Monday. So I don't know. I think that's going to be interesting. I agree with you, though. I think Dalvin, I would like to see a big game out of Dalvin. As a Justin Jefferson fantasy owner, obviously, I'm going to be pulling for them to sling the rock a little bit. But I do think that Dalvin's going to need to have a big game for us to really put this team away and put teams away all season.
How do you feel the passing attack is going to go against Philly's secondary? I guess I'm also against their pass rush, but
I think that it's gonna be fine. Like I Green Bay is the team that's like their secondary is really good. Like Eric Stokes, Jair Alexander Stokes. I think I said Strokes and it's Stokes. That's my fault.
You just have a stroke?
I did just have a stroke. I can feel my brain melting. But Eric Stokes, Jair Alexander, it's because I was trying to remember Jair because that's like a weird name for me. But anyway, like they have 2 elite cornerbacks. Their safeties are really good. Like, and every media outlet has been saying Green Bay's defense is going to be one of the best in the league. It's like them and Buffalo were like the 2 most hyped defensive units. And we were still able to move the ball, I don't want to say at will, but with a lot of success against Green Bay. So Philly's secondary, yeah, it's a good secondary. It's a good pass rush. They have a good defense. But this season, and it's been 1 game, maybe this is still a bit of an overreaction. Kevin O'Connell kind of showed me on Sunday, like, hey, you know what? We can move the ball against good defenses. Good defenses don't scare us anymore. We have a good offense too. And I think that's what has fans so excited. I want to flip sides a little bit. I want to pose you a question. I keep saying poise. How big of an impact do you think Zadarius Smith has on this game? Obviously, he was a human one-man wrecking ball on Sunday against his former team, the Green Bay Packers. Do you think he has a similar game this week because it's in prime time and he's still establishing himself, as the new Purple People Eaters or whatever? Or do you think this is the cool down has begun?
I think it's going to be a slightly different Zadarius Smith than we saw against the Packers. And we talked on Monday in our Packers recap show about how he was obviously so amped up, so hyped up to face his former team. He had a grudge. He had everything to motivate him. He had. He's going to obviously continue to play with motivation. He wants to prove something with his new team, and obviously he's a competitor. But I think with this Philly game, 2 things are going to happen. Maybe 3. 1, Philadelphia has a great offensive line. And that's different than the Green Bay offensive line, which was in tatters and was starting a bunch of young guys. So Zadarius and Daniil and Dalvin Tomlinson were able to kind of eat up the offensive line. So I think that's going to be one challenge. I think the second challenge is that Philadelphia is going to run a lot more. And so there's not going to be as many opportunities for Smith to make, high profile, big impact sacks, for example. Obviously he's still got to be active in the run game, but I don't think we're going to see as much highlight reels at Zadarius Smith. It's going to be more 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Can the Vikings push him back enough to discontinue drives? And the third thing...
I'm so sorry.
One more thing, and then you go. The third thing is Jalen Hurts is a much different type of quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. And so Vikings are not necessarily going to bring the same types of pressures to get Jalen Hurts as they did Aaron Rodgers. With Rodgers, they could rely on the fact that Green Bay's wide receiving unit was young and inexperienced. Rodgers didn't trust them yet, clearly. And so they could pin their ears back a little bit, send 5 guys. Against the Eagles, they probably don't want to do that as much because Hurts is going to just escape the pocket and scramble. And so although Zadarius is clearly one of our best pass rushers, I could see many scenarios where either he or Hunter drop back into coverage or drop back into sort of a spy role and don't necessarily just bulldoze ahead past or rush the passer. So obviously that role could also be a Jordan Hicks or Eric Kendricks role as well, to be a little bit of a spy. But there's not going to be as much straight line rushing at the passer. So I think sacks will be a little harder to come by. So kind of all those 3 things, I don't think we're going to see the same level of Zadarius Smith. I think he's still going to have an impact on the game, and he needs to in order for the Vikings to win this game. But it's going to be more in the run game. It's going to be more about discipline than it is high splash, big impact plays.
Yeah.
You were saying, though?
Oh, yeah. So what I was going to start going into, and again, apologies, I was checking on something on my other monitor, and then came in and heard like a slight silence, and I panicked. But that's completely on me. But I think that this is one of those games defensively like you said, and I'm really glad you said it, Hunter and Smith are less go get the quarterback, and they are more don't let the quarterback cross the line of scrimmage. If they get 6 tackles each for a 1 or 2 yard gain, I'll treat that as like, look, they got 12 sacks on Monday night basically, because that's what their job was, that's what they were supposed to do, and they executed that at a high level. So I think keeping Jalen Hurts and his legs contained is going to be a difficult task. But if there's one guy on our defensive line, or on anyone's defensive line across the NFL, that I want to do it, it's Danielle Hunter. The guy is a physical freak. I've seen him run down Kyler Murray. I've seen him run down some pretty athletic quarterbacks. And hopefully, he will still have that edge. I guess he's coming off of more of an upper body injury, so there's no reason that he should have lost any speed or anything. But moving back a little bit, it's going to be crucial that if we're not bringing as much pressure and we are playing more of a contained style pass rush, the secondary has to cover, and they have to play well. They can't let A.J. Brown get behind them on the first play of the game and risk him getting a big touchdown. They can't have those blown coverages. And I think that is, if I had to pick like my biggest area of concern, that would be it. It would be the secondary, because I don't know that I was incredibly thrilled with the secondary against Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to say they had a bad game, but they didn't blow me out of the water and make me think, oh my God, we have Legion of Boom 2, but now it's, in Central Time Zones. So that's kind of where I'm at on the defensive side of the ball, is excited for the matchups on the line, still kind of scared about the secondary. I mean, Eric Kendricks is going to ball out. That's kind of what he does. He's one of the best in the game right now. But I'll pass it back over for you for any other key matchups that you're going to be looking at.
Yeah, that's an interesting point with the secondary, and I think something that is going to be curious, because Philadelphia, by no stretch are they, an aerial attack offensive juggernaut. They're an interesting one, though, in that they now have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. 2 guys that are going to be hard to cover for different reasons. A.J. Brown is built like a linebacker, and he's as fast as a corner. And then on the other side, Devontae Smith is just lean, lanky, and can stride. And so there's 2 completely different body types and skill sets that we're going to have to keep up with. So being able to contain both is going to be interesting. Jalen Hurts isn't going to shred us with his arm. That's just not who he is. He's capable of making the big play, which is something that we're going to have to shut down. The Eagles last year, although they were not a high quantity prolific passing offense, they were 7th in explosive play rate and pass plays. So what that means is, of all the pass plays that they ran, they had an explosive play, which is 20 plus yards gained, at the 7th highest rate of all NFL teams. Even though, when they had the total number of pass plays that were explosive, they were more towards the middle because they didn't pass very much. So it's something where Philly's not going to pass a ton, but when they do pass, you have to be ready for one of those guys getting behind you. I also need to note that big plays for Philly isn't necessarily drop back, chuck it deep. These guys have shifty running backs, and then obviously I mentioned these streaky wide receivers, streaky in a good sense, where if you watch the game against Detroit, they weren't throwing the ball down the field a ton other than a few to A.J. Brown. They were throwing things out to the flat and letting their skill guys make plays. And so, and that was another area of concern that I had with the Vikings was against Green Bay. Yes, they were taking away different areas of the field. They weren't letting Aaron Rodgers pick them apart in the middle, but they were slow getting to the sidelines. And there was a couple of drives where it was almost inexcusable, where it'd be a dump to the tight end in the flat or to one of the running backs, and they just run for 7 to 8 yards every time. And so that's something where if our linebackers and our, I guess, edge contain guys aren't able to get to the sidelines and make those plays, it could be in for a long, slow bleed on Monday. because Philly probably as a collective unit has more offensive skill players than Green Bay does at this point. So those are kind of my areas of concern, guarding the skill players kind of as a conglomerate, how we'll match up and how we'll be able to contain.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And now that we've kind of went into some of those key matchups, I think we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna dish out some game balls and do some game picks. I think I do have this is a surprise to you. It's really not a surprise. I just forgot to text you about it. I made a post on Reddit just asking like, hey, who do you think is gonna win the game? And put like a poll up, and like 200 people have voted on it. So we have 200 Vikings fans that have voted on this poll for Load the Box. Thank you if you've tuned in here and you're watching it. You've contributed to content. But doing game balls, last week I had offense, you had defense. If you want to know how our picks went, go ahead, watch that Monday night video. It was just pristine content. But this week I will be doing the defense and you'll be doing the offense. And for me this week, last week I went with Justin Jefferson right on the offensive side of the ball. I said he's going to explode. He's our best player. Easy pick. This week I'm going to go with more of maybe an underdog pick. I'm going to go with Cam Bynum, because I think Jalen Hurts is going to try and stretch the ball down the field just a time or two too many. And I think Cam Bynum is going to have a crucial pass breakup. And to really put the icing on the cake, he'll get an interception in this game. That's my bold take. That's what's going to win him the game ball, is he's going to get a takeaway and he's going to be breaking up balls. And this might just be because I said something about Cam Bynum to my wife tonight, and she said, is he a rookie? And I said, no, he's been here for years. And she said, I've never heard of him. And so I just want to speak his name into the ethos and give him some appreciation. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. I think he is a pretty good player that is flying under a lot of people's radars. Cam Bynum says, hey, we drafted Scene. Smith is a legend. This is my safety spot to hold until Smith retires and Scene can take the old man's job, because this is Cam Bynum's season. So big Cam Bynum game on Monday Night Football. Will, passing it over to you for the offense.
Two questions for you. One comment and one question. One, technically Cam Bynum has been here for years. He was a rookie last year.
Yeah.
So kind of years, if you count this as the second year. The other thing, you think the Vikings are going to win on Monday? I want you to tell me why, and then I'll go into my game balls.
Okay, yeah, so I do think that the Vikings are going to win, and Reddit agrees with me on this. I listed 4 options in the poll, and I said Vikings win big, Vikings lose big, Vikings win a hard-fought while, and Vikings lose, parentheses, probably on a missed field goal. And by far the leader with 132 votes is the Vikings win in a close game, battle in the trenches, nasty Monday Night Football game in Philadelphia. And that's kind of how I think this game's going to go. I think this game is going to be one that we have to rely on Dalvin. Justin Jefferson will still get his. I think the passing game will still look good. But as long as Cousins doesn't implode and have one of those like weird, he throws 3 or 4 interception games, I think that the Vikings will find a way to pull this one off. Just because I'm going to put I'm going to keep trusting Donatel's defense until I have reasons not to, that show up in the wins and losses department. And so far he's proved that one game, one win, I'll take it. So I do think the Vikings win a close game. I'll say 21-17. I'll say it is, and Cam Bynum gets that interception on the last drive. Boom, bam. Well, I got a professional wrestling belt back here. I love it. Like, it's pro wrestling booking right now. But your opinions, your game ball, all of that.
Yeah, so I think I already kind of teased it a little bit. I think we're on the same side of it's going to be under the 51 points. I think the Vikings will, again, I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Vikings will lose. I think it'll be close. I think they'll lose 24-20. I think some concerns that I had that I haven't really talked about were the inability to finish in the red zone. I think we'll settle for a couple field goals where you punch one of those touchdowns in, you're in a different spot. And just against, a more a more complete team in Philadelphia, this early in the season. I think the biggest issue that I have and the biggest concern I have is the our ability or lack thereof to stop their running game. So I've already talked about a lot of those things, but I think we'll lose. I think it'll be close. I don't think there'll be necessarily any big turnovers or big, mistakes by anybody. I think we'll struggle a little more this week to move the ball as efficiently as we did against Green Bay. And in terms of my game ball, win or lose, I think, if we do win, I teased this already as well. If we do win, it needs to be on the shoulders of the running game. And it needs to be on the shoulders of Ed Ingram and Garrett Bradbury. Those two guys, I'll even throw Ezra Cleveland in there, because those guys, the interior of the offensive line, they're the part of the unit that have the most question marks around them, especially Ingram and Bradbury. Bradbury is a great run blocker, and we know that, and that's not something that he's necessarily has questions on him about. But this is a game where they're going to have to flex a little bit to keep us in this game, and it's going to be on the shoulders of those three guys, and then of course the backs, Cook and Madison. But really, if I'm going to give a game ball, if you will, if I'm Kirk in the locker room after the game, if we win like he did on Sunday, he's going to be giving the game balls to his interior of his offensive line. So I think maybe it's a little bit of a stretch to do three guys, but that's how I'm taking it. The running game is going to have to be crucial in this game. Like I said,
though.
I think Vikings lose, but I think it's going to be a go either way game. Ability to close out drives at the end, I think, is going to be where the game is decided.
Yeah, I think that was one really, and I don't want to get into the Packers game, and I do want to wrap up. These will be my final thoughts, and then I'll pass it off to you to kind of take us on home. But I was really impressed with how the Vikings handled the last time the offense touched the ball on Sunday. It felt like they were blowing Green Bay off the ball. Dalvin was running. He looked fast. He looked physical. He was getting first downs. I think Madison maybe had a touch or two on that drive. It might have been the drive before. But when the Vikings wanted to just milk the clock, they did a really good job of it. And that's a good sign, because I think that is a quality that can win or lose you a lot of football games over the course of 17 weeks. And every game obviously means so much. So that is a skill that I think could end up playing into our benefit. And I don't want to Skip and Shannon debate this, but if it does come down to ball in the Vikings offense hands, they have a small lead with 5 minutes to go. Right now, today, I'm like, oh yeah, like, make them use the timeouts, get a first down, game's over. We can put this game away. Whereas in years prior, I would think they're going to go ISO, run up the middle. It's going to be terrible. They're going to end up punting. It's going to be 3rd and 12. They're going to run the ball again, get 3 yards, punt the ball, and then they're going to get the ball back with 3.5 minutes. They're going to go down the field and beat us. Whereas with KOC, I don't know, maybe, I guess I haven't had to see him in a really tense situation, but I don't know. It just feels different. I think you said that on Monday. It just feels different as a fandom. So I'll shut up. This was always great. I'm excited for the game. Tune in, I think Tuesday, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. Follow the Twitter at LTB Vikings to find out when A Day Late Nadal show will be coming out, the post game. I can tell you one thing, it won't be Monday night. Go ahead, subscribe to Will's Twitter at WillBadLose. Head on over to VikingsTerritory.com for great content, just daily, all the time. And of course, shop Unified Athletic Wear. And other than that, I've been Jordan Hawthorne signing off. Back to Will.
Thanks, Jordan. My final takes, my final thoughts for this week's edition of Load the Box leading into Philadelphia. Like you said, Jordan, it feels different. I am going to be a little critical and hesitant to fully buy into the it feels different after more than just one game, right? I'm prepping a piece that will go out on Vikings territory probably in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to put a little more thought into it. It's not just going to be a quick game recap or something, where I'm going to be talking about this idea of the different feel in Minnesota, and I think it's a very positive development. But I think week 2, you still have to prove something to me. One game isn't enough to prove it to me quite yet. And I think, something. Let me back up. So why I think they have to prove it to me, that's why I think they'll probably lose this game. I think early in the season, not everything's buttoned up, not everything's together. I haven't fully bought in quite yet. However, I think over the long course of this season, 17 games, I think they're going to be an 11-win team. That was my prediction at the beginning of the season, and I'll stick with it. In that prediction, I thought they would lose to Philadelphia. So I'm staying true to where I started at the beginning of the year. The positive spin of all this, where it feels like I'm being the Vikings hater this week, is that in years past, in these road games, Monday night, prime time, whatever, it felt like the moment was always too big. It always felt like we were too intimidated. It always felt like a couple bad things go wrong. The crowd gets loud. We get intimidated. We have a 3 and out, punt it back away. The defense gets toasted, and just like that, you're down 2 scores. That was always the feel on these primetime road games. Monday night's going to be different, and I know it's going to be different just based on what I was able to see from the sideline and from the enthusiasm, the energy, the excitement, the positivity, the encouragement, all these little things that you might think are somewhat insignificant. They matter when you are in a hostile and difficult environment and you are your back's up against the wall. So I think the team will perform well. I think we will respond well to adversity. I think we're going to have a togetherness sort of approach. It's going to be a slugfest. It's going to be a very physical game. Just because I think the Vikings are going to fall a little bit short doesn't mean that I think there's going to be very, very good things and takeaways from this game. And so that's kind of my positive last thought on this. We won't be tentative. We won't be too scared of the moment like we have been in years past. That whole tenor has changed. So with that, we have a lot of good things going forward. We have a lot to be excited about in this season. It's going to be a great game Monday night. Win, lose, or draw, we're going to have a lot to talk about on Tuesday. That's all we got this week. Load the box. Signing off. This is Will Goodwin. And as always, Skol.